Hi, third grade! We are back with our shared read folktale called Anansi Learns a Lesson. Yesterday, we read the first half of the story where we learned about Turtle and that he had some problems. His first problem was that he was hungry, and then later his problem was that he got tricked by Anansi the spider because Anansi didn't want to share his bananas. Well, today we're going to read the second half of the story, and we're going to learn what Turtle's response was to being tricked by the spider. For this lesson, you'll need your Reader's Writer's Companion book and a pencil. Open up to page 39. If you need a minute to find that page, feel free to pause the video and press play when you're ready to start.
Turtle was angry that Anansi had tricked him, but he was also tricky and clever. These were two of his best features. He decided to play a little trick on his friend. "Please come to my house at the bottom of the lake for a fabulous feast tomorrow," said Turtle. Anansi quickly said yes to the meal. Turtle decided to ask Fish to help. "Fish, I want to play a little trick on Anansi," he said. "Will you help?" Fish agreed, and together the two friends created a unique or one-of-a-kind plan.
So it seems like Turtle isn't going to let the spider get away with tricking him. Let's read the questions and dig deeper into the text. The first question focuses on paragraph 1. It will be about problem and solution. Remember, the word solution means how to fix or answer a problem. The question asks, how does Turtle plan to solve his problem? Well, in the first paragraph, it says he decided to play a little trick on his friend meaning Anansi the spider. So, to answer the question, Turtle's plan is to play a trick of his own. So, on the line, let's write Turtle plans to play a trick of his own. Next, it says circle text evidence. Our text evidence was this last sentence in the first paragraph. So let's go ahead and circle that whole sentence. Next, we'll focus on paragraph 2. This one's about synonyms. Remember, a synonym is a word that means the same thing or almost the same thing as another word. It says, draw a box around the synonym for feast. Let's reread paragraph 2 to find that word. "Please come to my house at the bottom of the lake for a fabulous feast tomorrow," said Turtle. Anansi quickly said yes to the meal. So in this sentence here, the author is using the word feast. Then in the very next sentence, the author refers to this feast as a meal. The author is doing that to help us understand what a feast is. Here, the turtle calls the event tomorrow a feast. And then in the next sentence, the author simplifies the word by referring to it as a meal. So let's box in the word meal. A feast is a large meal. The next question focuses on paragraphs 2 through 4. 2, 3, 4. 2 through 4. This one's about making inferences. Inference is when you take what you know in your head and what you've read in the story, and you bring them together to make a new idea. It says, use what Turtle says to make an inference about how he will trick Anansi. Write it here. Well, Turtle says that he's going to invite Anansi to a meal, which kind of reminds me of how Anansi tricked him. And then it goes on to say how Turtle is asking Fish for help. And a fish lives in water, which is kind of how Anansi tricked Turtle by keep sending him to the water to wash his hands. So I can infer that Turtle is going to use food and water to trick Anansi. Let's write that on the line. He plans to use water to keep Anansi from eating. Go ahead and write that on the line. Let's turn the page and keep reading.
The next day, Fish met Anansi at the edge of the lake. "Come, Anansi," said Fish. "We will swim to Turtle's house together." Anansi looked at the water. He was an awkward and clumsy swimmer. He was also very light. "How will I ever get down to Turtle's house?" he cried. "Grab some heavy stones," said Fish. "Then you will be heavy enough to sink." Anansi picked up 2 big stones, jumped into the lake, and sank down, down, down. At Turtle's house, Anansi saw a wonderful feast of berries.
The first question on this page focuses on paragraphs 1 through 3. 1, 2, 3. This one's about problem and solution. It asks, why is the lake a problem for Anansi? Well, in this first paragraph, it says that Anansi is a awkward and clumsy swimmer, and he's also very light. So Anansi isn't a great swimmer, and this lake is a problem for him. Let's write that on the line. He isn't a good swimmer, and the lake is a problem. Go ahead and write that on the line. How does Fish help him solve his problem? Circle Fish's solution. We read in paragraph 3 that the fish says to grab some heavy stones so that he would be heavy enough to sink. So let's circle this whole paragraph because it explains that the fish's solution is to get stones to make him heavy enough to sink. The next question is on paragraph 4. This one's about visualizing. It says, draw a box around text that helps you visualize what Anansi finds at Turtle's house. Let's reread this paragraph. It says, Anansi picked up 2 big stones, jumped into the lake, and sank down, down, down. At Turtle's house, Anansi saw a wonderful feast of berries. So let's box in this last part of this sentence because it explains that Anansi saw the feast of berries. Next, this one's about illustrations, so the pictures in the story. It says, circle 2 details in the illustration that helps you to understand the setting. The setting is where and when a story takes place. I can tell the setting is in the water. I see the blue water and I also see what looks like seaweed. So I'm going to circle this area right here because this shows me the water and the seaweed. The second detail that I'm going to circle are these rocks and plants on the bank here. This shows me where the story took place in the beginning, where the turtle came up to the water to wash his hands. Let's read on to find out what happens next.
"Welcome, Anansi," said Turtle. "Drop those stones and help yourself." As soon as Anansi dropped the stones, he rocketed to the surface of the lake. Anansi sputtered furiously. "Fish and Turtle tricked me," he cried angrily. Back at the bottom of the lake, Turtle and Fish laughed and laughed. "Anansi has tricked us many times," said Turtle. "For once, we tricked him."
This question is going to focus on paragraphs 1 and 2. This one's on problem and solution. It says, what problem does Anansi have when he drops the stones? Underline the answer. Well, when Anansi is told to drop those stones, it says that he rocketed to the surface of the lake. So, without the weight of these two stones, this little spider shot right up to the surface of the water. Anansi does not look happy, but Turtle and Fish look pretty pleased with themselves for finally getting Anansi back with a trick. So let's underline this sentence here, which tells us that he rocketed up to the surface of the lake. This next one's going to continue to focus on paragraph 2, and we're going to visualize. Circle details that help you visualize how Anansi feels. Write how he feels. Well, after he is rocketed to the surface of the lake, it says Anansi sputtered furiously. So I'm going to circle the words sputtered furiously because those two words tell me that he is so mad. He is furious. Then it says, Fish and Turtle tricked me, he cried angrily. So he didn't even just say these words, he cried them out in anger. So let's circle these two words as well. Now that we've circled the words, let's write them down how he feels. He feels angry and furious. Now we'll focus on paragraphs 2 through 4. 2 through 4, so that includes 2, 3, and 4. This question focuses on the lesson. Remember, a fable teaches a moral or a lesson. It asks, what lesson did Anansi learn? In this last paragraph, Turtle says, Anansi has tricked us many times. For once, we tricked him. So, what that last paragraph tells me is that this wasn't a one-time thing where Anansi tricked Turtle with the bananas. It seems like Anansi was quite the trickster and always tricking other animals, like Turtle and Fish. By Anansi being the one tricked on this time, he learned that it doesn't feel good to be tricked. Let's write that on the line. He learned that it doesn't feel good to be tricked. Go ahead and write that on the line. All right, boys and girls, that is the end of our shared read fable called Anansi Learns a Lesson. Thanks for reading and learning with me today. And remember, try not to play tricks on others. Bye for now.